Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and double honors due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, or Malak Yahweh Shai. Secondly, this is Brother Yardan, W5 Detroit, coming back at you with yet another cold cut. Today in this cold cut, we will be going into history. All right, to be a little bit more specific, as you can see, we'll be going into so-called Native American history. Now, the reason why I say so-called is because nobody is actually Native American. In fact, that's the same reason why we say so-called black and so-called Hispanic. Nobody on the God's green earth is literally black. Nobody's actually an Hispanic. So that's the reason why we say so-called. However, should you hear me say Native American or black, it's for edification purposes so that the audience may understand, all right? Because not everybody's used to those terms. But I digressed. To introduce this book by Alvin M. Josephi Jr., The Indian Heritage of America, an authoritative book for the general reader and student alike on the archaeology, ethnology, and history of the tribes and culture of the Indians of North and South America from prehistoric times to the present day. Now, this is very informative. Why? Because books like these that touch on archaeology and proof that the so-called Native Americans are Israelites all filter through the scriptures. It proves the validity of the Bible. So, for an example, or pre-adventure Israelite may walk up and say, well, I don't believe in the Bible. What other books do you have? Well, this is one of the books that will prove. It's likely we're going to improve that the so-called Native Americans are indeed Israelites by going into the history, right? And it ties back to the scriptures. That's what I mean by filters through the Bible. So upon my readings, I didn't read the entire book yet, but upon my reading so far, I have run across informative, history. And this book, if you want to buy it, I'm sure you can buy it off Amazon. I went to the library. So this is a page. I did not copy the page. So Salakia, oh, there it is, 40. This might be page 39, perhaps. But let's read it. Where should I start? I'll start at the highlighted part. These and other fanciful ideas have all been proven unsound by modern scientists who have established. I'll start from the top. Mandan Indians of the upper Missouri River were Mad Dog Welsh's descendants, and the tale continues to be examined in series books that are yet being written. Still, other investigators insisted from time to time that the Indians had come to the Western Hemisphere via the supposed lost continent of Atlanta. And of course, that's off. That's not true. That's a theory. And the Atlantic Ocean or Amu in the Pacific, making their way safely across from the old world before the continent sank beneath the oceans. Of course, that's folly. But it says this. These are other fanciful ideas. It's like these and other fanciful ideas have all been proven unsound by modern scientists, who have established that there were no lost continents, and that man was present in the Western Hemisphere at least 10,000 years ago. The math is somewhat off, but, when you read books like these, you have to spit out the bones and chew the meat. Long before the rise of Egypt, China, or other civilizations of the old world, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or Mormons, nevertheless, maintain a different belief. The Book of Mormon relates that Indians are descendants from the Lamanites, right? And of course, that really goes back to Israelites, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because in the Book of Mormon, it speaks about this a lot, that the Indians, like Native Americans, are actually Israelites. It supports that idea. As we continue to read on in a highlighted indigo or purple, violet, a degenerate element of the Jews who migrated to the New World prior to the Christian era. And they are, well, they're not technically Jews, but they're Israelites that did migrate to the New World. So let's jump down and read this second part. It was believed that the Indians were offshoots of known civilizations of the Old World. Some scholars argue that they came from Egypt, others that they had broken away from the Chinese, and others that they were descendants of the Phoenician or Creek seamen. And that's not true. That's been disproven, right? Because Japheth, which are the modern day Hawaiians, they actually come from those Greek seamen. But continuing on, Viscount Kingsborough, a 19th century Irish nobleman, spent many years and a fortune trying to prove that the Mayas of Middle America had descended from the members of one of the lost tribes of Israel. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So let's bring out a precept. Let's bring out some precepts. This is Revelation 12 and 16. I'll start at verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Right? We're not going to go into the entire breakdown, but in short, the serpent in this case is Esau, right? That's the devil. And the water that's being issued out of his mouth is not water on the right-hand side, but on the left, to get Israel drunk, to get that woman drunk and to be carried away by his philosophies, the media, whatever Esau has in his toolbox, aka arsenal, to dismantle and destroy the idea that Israel is, God's chosen people, and that they're, themselves are Israelites. So that's the serpent and that's the woman. We know Israel is the woman pursuing I believe James 6:1, which is like James 3:1. There's a lot more precepts. Matthew 25th chapter. That's not really the point. The point at hand is this, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Right? So although Esau has used so many tactics, so many divisive plans out of his book to deceive Israel and use everything in his arsenal to make sure we don't know who we are, there is still information within the earth to prove that we're Israelites. For an example, you have over 100 keystone writings that are in Hebrew in Puerto Rico. You have the Los Lunas Decalogue stone. You have certain artifacts in Ohio, even in Michigan, all proving that these so-called Native Americans spoke Hebrew. And not only that, their traditions and cultures are so similar to that of the Jews that not only one, but several historical navigators and travelers supported the idea and said in their books that they have to be Jews. One of those people, for an example, of course, you have Viscount Kingsborough, but you also have a man named James Adair. So let's get Psalms 85 and 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. So that is true, right? Truth is springing down from the earth, and righteousness shall spring from heaven, right? These accounts and these witnesses, this is truth springing out of the earth. So who is that man? Who is what's his name? Kingsborough Discount. He had a book chalked up with hundreds of pictures. And these pictures, it shows us and it tells us And they're really technically hieroglyphs, but and hieroglyphs are a form of so-called writing, but more so obviously, you know, drawn out, and it displays. It's like it and it tells us what it means by their actions, right? So what does this have to do with the Bible? How does this relate to the scriptures? Let's bring it out.